Welcome to Woah Drama Stories. We indulge of speaking of day-to-day troubles of human beings. Let's not wait any longer and start with the video. My 20 female parents got divorced when I was just 5 years old. I barely have any memory of my parents getting along after that. My father then started dating my now stepmom 2 months after the divorce and got married almost a year later. My parents had joint custody, which meant that I would get to spend time with my father on the weekends. My father died 2 months ago in a car accident, after which I have completely cut contact with my stepmom, and I have a valid reason for all that. My stepmom was never nice to me growing up. Every time I would try to spend some time with my father on the weekends, she will do anything and everything to send me back to my mother's. For example, she would plan dates and dinners on the weekends where obviously I could just not go with them. She would host parties and book clubs where I would have to go to bed early, just would keep me away from spending time with my father. One time, I asked my father to take me to Disneyland, which he agreed at first, but then called my mom up and asked her to take me instead of him, which I assume was my stepmother's doing as well. There was a lot of anger and resentment toward my stepmother. I felt that she had never really cared for me and kept me away from my own father all this time. I did not really visit them after I turned 18 and stayed away from my father as well, since I never got to create a bond with him when I grew up. I was not even interested, but I knew my father loved me and would be there for me and was a good man regardless. That did not mean that I had a very bad relationship with my father. He was very supportive and understanding and loved me unconditionally. I was always able to talk to him about anything, and he never judged me. He was a great person, and he did not deserve what happened to him. I did not get to spend enough time with my father. At the funeral, my stepmom would try to comfort me, and that just felt so pretentious. That was the last time I saw her until today. She's been trying to reach out to me for 2 weeks, and I kept blowing her off. Today, finally we agreed to see each other, and she broke down asking me why I was shutting her out of my life, to which I did not hold back, because I thought, now that my father was gone, I do not owe her anything. I said everything she did growing up that affected me, which was mostly her trying her best to keep me away from him, to the point I did not quite have a relationship with him. What she told me next shattered my whole reality. She went into detail about how abusive and alcoholic he actually was, and how he would physically, emotionally, and mentally abuse her throughout the week when I was not around. She went on to tell me how he still would be abusive even in front of me, which is why the early bedtime, and why she would never leave my side at all, so that I did not have to experience that. At first, I did not believe it all, but when she started talking about specific incidents, it finally clicked, and I broke down in the middle of the coffee shop. My whole perception of my father changed in front of her eyes, and she hugged me through it. I feel so bad and so guilty to have ever doubted her. Growing up, the term stepmother always has been someone evil, and I just gave in to the idea when I could have had such a great role model and parent figure. But now, I've decided to mend my relationship with her. She kept me away from him because she did not want anything to happen to me, because she knew how bad he was. I feel bad for my stepmother because she lost her husband, but in a way, I feel happy for her because now she can be free from him. I, female 20, have 3 siblings who live at home. Male 22, male 15, male 12. My older brother does not work and does not go to school. My middle and youngest brothers are in middle and high school. I've been taking care of them for about 6 years now. My parents both work full-time. I'm the only one who cleans and makes food and takes care of the dogs. I have access to a car that I share with my brother, but he takes it to go hang out with his friends and doesn't get back for long hours. So I've had to bring home groceries on the bus. Because, oh yeah, I also do the grocery shopping and pretty much all chores. I've tried talking to my parents about it, but they say that my brother is finding himself and that I should respect his process, and the younger ones have to concentrate on school. I am in my 3rd year of college, and all this housework, along with my college work, is wrecking me physically and emotionally. My boyfriend, 24, has talked to his parents, and they are letting me move into the apartment over their garage. He will be paying the rent for the apartment. He lives at home rent-free, but he also graduated and has a great job. So we talked about it, and he insisted on doing this for me. We are committed to each other, but we are way too young to think about moving in together or getting married. I'm not saying that this is too young for anyone else. We just know what we want in life, and until I get my nursing degree and get a job, we aren't ready to move forward. My parents went away this weekend for NASCAR in Vegas. It is their 3rd vacation this year. I do not begrudge them for their holidays. They both work hard, but I'm tired of being an unpaid nanny/dog sitter. So I grabbed my laptop, clothes, and a few other things that I had been gifted. I waited for my older brother to get home, and I left. I told him I was going out for groceries, but my boyfriend was waiting in the car around the corner. My brother started texting me about 20 minutes after I left, saying he needed the car. I did not take the car. I left all the keys on the counter along with my house keys. My grandparents pay for my education, so there's literally nothing my parents can hold over me. I let him know I wasn't coming back, and I let my parents know after the last race that I had left my older brother in charge of the younger kids and bailed. They drove straight home instead of spending the night partying and driving home the next day. Everyone is mad at me for being so immature and thoughtless. I just don't care anymore. I talked to my grandfather, and he says that I am right and my brothers can look after themselves. My mom keeps calling and complaining that the house is a mess. I was only gone for 9 hours before they got home, but my brothers made a mess of the house. My older brother says I am stupid because my parents are making him do everything that I used to do. I don't feel bad for him. If I did it all this time, he is older than me and can handle it just fine. I cannot find it in myself to give a shit anymore. Am I stupid for leaving and making them look after themselves? My sister, 20 female, died suddenly last week. It was extremely unexpected, and I don't want to discuss it with anyone more than I need to. She and her boyfriend, 20 male, had been together 5 years before her death. He was the one to find her. Our father is deceased, and our mother is not in very good health. Because of this, everything that has needed to been taken care of after her death has fallen on me. Some of her good friends have offered to help, and I've gladly accepted because it's a lot to handle everything on my own. This is where my problems lie with her boyfriend, who I have loved like my own brother for 5 years. This is not long-standing beef that I am taking out on him now. Every time I have asked him to help with her arrangements, he has refused. I went to my sister's apartment to gather her belongings and asked him to come with. He said no, he didn't want to go back there. 2 of my sister's friends helped me instead, but I didn't know them at all, and it was hard to have such an emotional experience without anyone I knew there to get through it with me. I asked if he would help some of her friends host a small memorial for her friends who would not be attending the funeral. For budget reasons, we had to keep it small. He said no, he wasn't comfortable doing that. When I asked if he would help plan the funeral, he said no. He didn't think it was his place. I told him that I felt he would know her just as well as I would. He said it was not something he wanted to do, and we left it at that. He attended the memorial and is intending to attend the funeral. My sister had a charm bracelet that she added a charm to at every major event of her life. I asked her boyfriend if he would pick a charm to bury her with. He straight up refused and said it felt like a waste of money. I said I would pay. He refused again. I had to spend a day closing all of her accounts. I asked if he would come help. He said he didn't sleep well and didn't have the energy to deal with it. I said we could postpone, and he said that it was best for me to just take care of it without him. I asked if he would take care of her pet hamster for a few days, while I found a way to keep it at my place. He says no, he doesn't like the hamster. Everything I have asked of him, he has refused. I understand how hard this has been on him. Seeing my sister like that could not have been easy, and it makes me feel sick to my stomach to just think about it. I can't imagine how hard it was on him, given the fact he was the one who found her. But he promised us both that he would take care of her. And now that she's dead, it feels like he's shirking the responsibility. I feel so resentful and angry. I've shouldered all of this myself without complaint, but I can't stand the idea of him being at the funeral when he has done nothing to help her? Would I be stupid if I tell him not to bother with the funeral when he has remained distant all this time? I am 27 female and have a sister, 29, who never wanted to get married because she just doesn't like marriage. Nothing wrong with that, but she still wanted to have kids. So she had a baby with her long-term boyfriend, and well, her boyfriend doesn't help her out at all. He's just another person in the house she has to look after, even though he is capable to doing so. He doesn't work, he gets disability, his issue has long since resolved, but he still collects that somehow. So he pays for some bills, but not much. He doesn't help with housework, and he barely helps her with their now 1.5-year-old. He just plays video games all day. I've seen it when I come over to babysit. My sister works from home, so she will be on a wireless headset having a conference call with the baby on her hip while she's cleaning the kitchen, and her boyfriend will be playing video games in the living room. And that's the situation every time I come over to help her out. And my sister tells me that's what it's always like in their house. I work full-time as a nurse, so I come over to help when I can, but I also work third shift, and my sister lives almost 2 hours away, so it's hard for me to help a lot. She's gotten mad at me several times for not helping babysit enough. I had a 2-week vacation last winter, and she got mad at me for not babysitting a whole lot while I was on vacation. I wanted to help because I love her and my niece, but I work a lot too, and the drive is long, and I'm just tired a lot. And honestly, I feel like I deserve a vacation after working hard all year. Well, 2 weeks ago, we were talking, and she told me that she and her boyfriend were going to try for another baby soon. And if things work out, they were hoping to have another baby by next Thanksgiving. I said to her, "Are you sure it's a good idea to have a second baby when your boyfriend barely helps you with the first one?" It just blurted out of my mouth. I didn't even think of it being offensive or anything. She got all defensive and tried to tell me that he does help some, but I reminded her that she tells me all the time how he doesn't help, and I've seen for myself how he just plays video games while she does everything. She got really mad and said, "Well, maybe if you helped more, then it wouldn't seem like everything is on my shoulders." I told her that she was being unfair, and as much as I love my niece, it's not my responsibility to take care of her. I do it to help my sister out and hang out with my niece, and if she should hold someone accountable, it should be her boyfriend. After some back and forth arguing, I got up and left. She told our mom what I said, and our mom got all mad at me, saying I was stupid for upsetting my sister, and my brother got mad at me about it too. I don't think I was stupid though. I just pointed out the facts only because she holds me responsible for not helping as much as she would want me to. But after my family got mad at me, I'm not so sure about it all. I, 31 female, share a daughter, 13 female, with my ex-husband, 32 male. My ex-husband and I have a decent co-parenting relationship. She lives with me full-time and goes to his house every other weekend. We split when she was 2, and we've both married other people since then. We both also ended up having 2 more children each, all boys under 5, so my daughter has 4 little brothers in total. My ex is a pretty good guy, although he can be a bit selfish. Here's the issue. My daughter hates going to his house. She asks me every single time if she can stay home. We've had many discussions about why she wants to stay home because, of course, my first thought was that there was some kind of abuse happening over at his place. I did all I could to make sure nothing of this sort was happening to my daughter, and as far as I can tell, and from what she tells me, there is no abuse. I think what it really boils down to is that she gets bored and annoyed at his house because there is not much for her to do. These are her complaints. She's always bored. Her dad and stepmom are always arguing in front of her. Her brothers hit and kick her. They are quite younger than her. Her dad sleeps in until afternoon and never spends time with her whenever she's at his place. She always straight up says that I just don't want to go there. I try to encourage her to go over there so she can spend time with them. I tell her that they are her family too, and they love her. I tell her that her dad might feel bad if she doesn't visit him, and tell her to try to keep herself entertained while she's visiting him. This past weekend, she begged me not to make her go. She said, "Can't I make the decision since I'm 13 now if I don't want to go?" It breaks my heart, and I do always want her here, but I don't want to keep her from her dad. So would I be stupid if I told my ex-husband that our daughter doesn't want to go to his house anymore? I've told him before that he needs to spend more time with her one-on-one when she visits him. I've told him he is always welcome to come pick her up for dinner or a daddy/daughter date, but he's never shown any interest in hanging out with her alone, so she can have his full attention. I don't want to force my daughter to go over at his place and be miserable the entire time. On the other hand, I don't want my ex-husband to feel like I'm keeping his daughter away from him. I just don't know what to do anymore.